Hey, seventh graders, for the first standard that we're going to cover this year, there's a couple rules that we need to know. They should be review, but we're going to go over them. Or you should have seen them before, but we're going to go over them to refresh your memory. So the first two rules kind of go together, and the second two rules kind of go together. The first two rules are the ones you want to apply first. You always want to look at a problem and apply these two first before you go on to the second two. Okay? So the first rule says two like signs become a positive sign. So I'll give you an example of what that looks like. If I have 2 minus -3, these are like signs. The two negatives, those two negatives will make a positive. So that turns into 2 plus 3. Okay? Now we could also write that a little differently. We could write 2 plus 3. Now I think you already know that 2 plus 3 is 5. Okay, but this rule still applies. Because really what we could do is we could put parentheses around the 3 like we did here, and there would be a plus inside because it's a positive number. So again, two like signs become a positive. So that would be 2 plus 3. Okay, so if it's two negatives, it becomes positive. If it's two positives, it stays positive. The second rule says two unlike signs become a negative sign. So what that would look like would be something like 2 minus, or let's do plus, -3. Okay, they're unlike. We have a positive, we have a negative. So that's going to turn into a negative sign. That's going to turn into 2 minus 3. Okay? And we could also write that a little differently. We could write it as 2 minus 3. Now, a lot of times we don't write the positive sign. We only write the negative sign. But really, again, there's a positive sign in front of that 3. So it would be a negative sign and a positive sign, which again will turn into a negative. So it would still be 2 minus 3. Okay? So those two rules we always need to apply first. The second two rules can be applied after we've done the first two. So it says two like signs, add and keep the original sign. Okay, so if I go back to this problem, we have two like signs. We have a positive 2 because there's no negative sign in front of it, and we have a positive 3 because there's no negative sign in front of it. So 2 plus 3, you add them and keep the original sign. So 2 plus 3 is 5. The sign, they're both positive, so it stays positive. Okay? If we have two negatives, we could do the same thing. So let's say we have a -2 minus 3. There are two like signs again. They're both negative. There's a negative in front of the 2. There's a negative in front of the 3. So you add and keep the original sign. The original sign this time is negative because they're both negative. So 2 plus 3 is 5. Keep the original sign would be a -5. All right. The second rule says two unlike signs, subtract and keep the sign of the larger number. All right. So let's say we have a positive 2, but a -3. Positive 2, there's no negative sign in front of it. A -3 because there's a negative in front of the 3. So they are unlike. We subtract. When you subtract, you always do the bigger number minus the smaller number. So even though 3 comes first, on the side over here, we're going to write 3 minus 2, which is 1. So we subtract, we get 1, keep the sign of the larger number. What number is bigger, 2 or 3? Well, 3 is a bigger number. The sign in front of 3 is negative, so then we get an answer of -1. Okay? Let's do another example. Let's say we have -5 plus 10. Okay, again, they are unlike signs. It's a -5. It's a +10. There's a minus in front of the 5, making it negative. There's a plus in front of the 10, making it positive. So again, we would subtract bigger number minus the smaller number. 10 minus 5 is 5. So it's going to be 5. Keep the sign of the larger number. The larger number is 10, and its sign is positive, so it stays a +5. Okay, the key to this also is remembering these two rules need to be applied before the second two rules. Okay? So let me give you another example over here where first we apply these two rules and then we apply the second two. Okay, so let's say we have, let's do 8 minus, we'll do a -8 minus -4. Let's try that. Okay, so first we have to figure out in between the two numbers, do we have like signs or unlike? And I see I have a negative and a negative. So I have two like signs. So I know that's going to become a positive. So these two together will make a positive. So it turns into -8 plus 4. Okay, I have now used those two rules. I'm going to go to the second two. Now I'm looking at the signs in front of each number. I'm looking at the negative in front of the 8 and the positive in front of the 4. I have to figure out, are they like or are they unlike? Okay, I can see a negative in front of the 8, positive in front of the 4, so I know they are unlike. So then I have to subtract. So on the side, I'll do 8 minus 4. Again, the bigger number minus the smaller number. Bigger number is 8, smaller number is 4. 8 minus 4 is 4. So I know it's going to simplify to 4. And then it says keep the sign of the larger number. Which number is bigger, 8 or 4? 8 is a bigger number. Its sign is negative. So I put a negative in front of 4. And that's how we apply those rules.